Hey guys, it's GMAN here and welcome back to another Apex Legends video. Today we'll be taking a look at every Heirloom in Apex Legends absolutely for free. That is right, if you guys did not know, there's a glitch going around in Apex right now. If you have a connection issue and logging into your game, your currency's all bugged out, you can actually equip a Heirloom absolutely for free. But of course this is temporary and EA is most likely going to patch it. So today I thought, why not equip all of them and showcase them to you guys here today. Now if you're wondering how to unequip them, you basically do the same process. Instead of equipping it, you just unequipped it and of course fix the bug. So yeah, now you know that, but for right now though, let's actually check these out. The first Heirloom we're taking a look at is Rafe's Heirloom. If you guys did not know, I officially own Rafe's Heirloom and Valkyrie's Heirloom, which you can see here. I actually got Rafe's Heirloom via actually donations for my Twitch stream, because if you guys did not know, I bought a bunch of packs. Then my Twitch viewers donated like $400 to help me get this Heirloom, and this Heirloom looks pretty nice. Now you can see this has just got one spec animation, nothing fancy to it, but of course when you melee somebody, you can kind of like jab him and punch with it. It's nothing too insane, but it is a really nice Heirloom just like overall. Its spam animation is definitely like the best and the most classic one, because like every Twitch streamer wants this just because of the fact they want to be a Fade wannabe. And who doesn't want to be a Fade wannabe when you can see the Heirloom doing this and looks super clean? So the next Heirloom we're taking a look at is Bangalore's Heirloom. Now Bangalore's Heirloom doesn't really have a spam animation, which you're going to see here. Like I start spamming it, doesn't really have anything to it. So if you're looking for a Heirloom that doesn't have a spam animation, then yeah, Bangalore, go for it. If you do want a spam animation, Bangalore might not be your one, but she is still very clean when she just kind of runs with it, slides and jumps. I kind of think how nice it is just because how subtle. And of course, if you were to actually hit somebody with it, here's some of the hit animations with it. Nothing too fancy per se. Kind of leaves a trail because of the heat around it. Actually kind of like, you know, leaves a little warm glow. And of course, you got some of the basic animations with it. Nothing too fancy with it. I think my favorite thing is when she kind of just sharpens it. But you're probably not going to be using too many animations. It's kind of unfortunate it doesn't have a really good spam animation, to say the least. Next up, we have Pathfinder's Heirloom. So Pathfinder's Heirloom is a very chunky Heirloom. I've actually had a lot of people talk about this, so when you're running with it, you can see it's pretty chunky. Doesn't have a spam animation, even though I'm clicking Q on it. It has some basic animations, though. But the best part about it is actual Heirloom. It's just punching people with it. So you're going to see me just duke it out with this guy right here. You guys see, it looks pretty satisfying. He's just hitting two hands, one-handed, right hook, left hook. And it's pretty nice. Nothing fancy to it, unfortunately. And there isn't really any special Heirlooms. The older Heirlooms don't have that many animations, which is kind of sad to say. Next up, we have Lifeline's Heirloom. Now, Lifeline's Heirloom's pretty classic. I'm not gonna lie, it honestly does look pretty clean too. And the good thing about this Heirloom, this actually does have a good spam animation, which I'm showing you guys next. So you can actually see they're spamming around. It looks pretty good when you run, slide, and all that thing. Nothing too fancy to it. And of course, when you do hit people with it, it will zap them as well. So you can see it's leaving little zap marks around them, which is pretty nice. Now, of course, being an older Heirloom, it doesn't have that many animations. Most of them are just kind of like inspect animations, and there's nothing much to be able to be said about that. Next up, we have Gibraltar's Heirloom. And honestly, he has a really cool pull-out animation. And he does actually have a Heirloom spam, which you can do if you want to see here. But honestly, it isn't anything too crazy compared to like some of the other Heirlooms. But you can still see when you slide and jump with it, he does hit his shield with it, kind of miring it. And of course, when you do hit somebody with it as well, it does kind of like club them. It's like a hatchet, which is pretty nice. And yeah, nothing too fancy about it. And of course, his animations are pretty decent, I'd say. He has a very similar glow to actually Bangalore's Heirloom. You can see there's another animation where he kind of pulls out his shield, does this thing and mires his shield with it, which is really interesting. It doesn't really show in his Heirloom at all, but you can actually pull it up when you do that, which is nice to see. And here's the actual Heirloom in itself, which looks absolutely fire. I love how he just admires it. It's got a similar design to actually Bloodhound's Heirloom, but they're both hatchets at the end of the day, just one's a little bit more on fire than the other one. So the next Heirloom we're looking at is actually Bloodhound's Heirloom. If you guys did not know, I actually had a viewer get Bloodhound's Heirloom at level 6. Fun story on this. I did a whole video on that. Of course, if you want to check out that video, it'll be on the end. But you can see the Heirloom's pretty clean. It's literally just a hatchet similar to that of actually Gibby's, but it's not as on fire as the other one. It's also a lot more clean with a slick design. And I gotta say, looks amazing. Looks absolutely amazing. And of course, it does have a spam animation similar to that of Gibraltar's. And of course, you got some nice hidden animations as well. So you can just kind of club people with it, one-handed to actually be two-handed because it's a hatchet. And yeah, not much else to be said about that. And of course, some of the animations are just mostly in specs. There isn't anything really too fancy to it, sadly. Next up, we have Caustic's Heirloom. Now, Caustic's Heirloom probably is my least favorite Heirloom, but it honestly does look pretty good now that I actually get to see it in person. It's got some basic animations, nothing too fancy with it. There's a rare animation where there's like a spider on top of it, but it isn't anything too crazy to say the least. Now, for the actual spam animation, it does not have one. It has one, but it's kind of like in the battery. You can see the battery's kind of spinning, and that's really about it for the spam animation. It's kind of sad that it's that way. I honestly thought it'd be pretty cool if he like throws it around between his hands. But of course, when you club somebody, it is pretty satisfying to hit them with it. And of course, we'll leave gas after because, you know, caustic gas is toxic. So yeah, it's a decent Heirloom nonetheless. Definitely not my favorite. It's probably one of my least favorite Heirlooms in the game. Next up, we have Mirages Hair. Now, Mirages Hair is the most unique Heirloom, and also just the most like Heirloom that actually matches his character overall, because it matches his ego, because he's got a pretty big ego, you know what I'm saying? But of course, he does have some nice animations to go with it, which are pretty cool. And there's nothing really to be said about it. It does have a decent spam animation too, so if you are a Mirage man, you're gonna absolutely love it once you do get it. And of course, when you do club somebody with it, you will hit them with the actual bottom of it, the top of it, the side of it, and all that stuff. You might even poke their eyes out while you do as well. So yeah, I think Mirage's Heirloom's good. I might try to get it for myself down the line when I'm able to, because I actually do prefer playing Mirage sometimes than playing other characters, because Mirage is just kind of like a fun legend. Next up, we have actually Octane's Heirloom. Now, of course, Octane's Heirloom is probably one of the most fire Heirlooms in the game by far, because it does have a good spam animation, which you can see here. Looks absolutely clean. It's a freaking butterfly knife. You can actually club people with it, stab, poke, check, all that stuff. And of course, you know, it's amazing. Now, he does have some basic animations to see him inspecting it, of course. And of course, he's going to jeep himself with it at the very end. And honestly, it's just kind of nice to admire this Heirloom just because how cool it is. Next up, we have actually Watson's Heirloom. Now, Watson's Heirloom is the most unique looking Heirloom in the game. It's nothing too fancy. It does have a good spam animation, which we love to see. Who doesn't love a good spam animation? But the best part about Watson's Heirloom is just kind of like her actual like overall animations to it, because there's just a lot of fun and wholesomeness. You can see she's kind of like got a little game she plays. She also got one where she pulls out Nessie and loves on Nessie, which is pretty nice if I can find it. Yeah, here it is. This is the one where she pulls out Nessie, and it's just super wholesome. She's got more of the wholesome animations more than anything else. Now, if you were to actually jeep somebody with it, more just zaps and similar to that of actually, what's the name? Not Life, yeah, Lifeline. Lifeline's Heirloom. So there isn't anything too fancy to be said about that, but it's still a good Heirloom nonetheless. Next up, we got Crypto's Heirloom. Now, Crypto's Heirloom is one of the coolest Heirlooms in the game right now by far, besides like Revenant, Valkyries, and some of the other ones. And of course, you do have a good spam animation. It's nothing too fancy. He kind of just flips his sword around. Nothing too insane. And of course, when you do club somebody with it, it's going to cut them like a katana. And you also might hit him with the actual robot that you have as a drone, which is pretty nice to be said. And also, of course, some of the animations on this are going to be like little Easter eggs and stuff like that, and callbacks to actually his origins. So yeah, I think overall this Heirloom is pretty nice. I wouldn't say it's the most insane Heirloom, but it's definitely one of those Heirlooms that like you can't get enough of. Like you can see here, he's gonna play a little game with him, which is awesome. I think that's my favorite part about this Heirloom, just like him playing with actually, I don't know his name, but I was thinking there I was gonna call him Doc, because Doc is the one that Lifeline has for her pet. Next up, we have the Grim Reaper himself, Revenant Salem, and honestly, this Heirloom's got a good spam animation. My friend CT has this one. I kind of like always like this Heirloom. The problem with it is some of his Heirloom animations are kind of like chalk design. Like he's grinding a chalkboard. Like this is the one I dislike the most. It makes such a grinding sound, and I just cannot stand it, because like no one likes that. And of course, it's got some really good club animations, which you're gonna see here. It's like 1, 2. And of course, they're gonna spawn back in, and you're just gonna slash them with literally the back of it, the top of it, and of course the side of it, which and leaves a cool trail too, similar to that of the actual debris, or was it particle effect? It's actually coming off of it. Next up, we have Rampart's Heirloom. Now, Rampart's Heirloom is probably the most basic Heirloom out there. However, the best thing about this Heirloom is actually when you club people with it. It's got a very satisfying sound, because it's literally hitting people with a freaking wrench. So who doesn't love that? Now, the spam animation too on this is actually really good, surprisingly, even though it's just basically a wrench. There isn't anything else to be said about that. And of course, this has some really fun, actually, overall animations. Like, you have one where she's kind of just checking it out, inspecting it. And of course, you have one where she does a dinosaur effect on it. Okay, here's the dinosaur one. I just had to figure out which one it was. I just like had no idea. But of course, when you get this, it turns into a little dinosaur and she's like rah rah, which is pretty cute. I gotta say, best part about it, Heirloom is just some of the animation she has. Next up, we have Valkyrie's Heirloom. Of course, Valkyrie's Heirloom I officially own. Same thing with the Wraith Heirloom. And honestly, it's got amazing animation. It is really satisfying. It's got a very satisfying sound, similar to that Revenant sound, where it's like, it's got the nice heft to it. You know what I'm saying? And of course, when you do hit people with it, it does feel like really good to hit people with. And it's also got a good spam animation as well if you're running and stuff, which you can see here. It's very satisfying. It's very, very satisfying. And of course, she does have some special animations, so like if you crouch down, she will of course pull up the helmet. And there's nothing really else too fancy about this Heirloom. She does have an actual animation where she'll sometimes run when you actually start spamming her Heirloom, or when you pull it on out. You may actually throw the card she actually gets for entering the Apex games, which is a very rare Heirloom animation, but it is still pretty cool when you do see it happen. Now, the final Heirloom we'll take a look at is, of course, Lobos Heirloom. And of course, Lobos Heirloom is the most unique heirloom that was recently added to Apex Legends because it's literally just a fan blade or a warfland, and they actually have something similar to this in actually Valorant. And of course, the spam animation on this is amazing. It's definitely top tier spam animation, which I think it's amazing. And of course, you can actually see the actual inspect animations are pretty nice on top of it. This was my favorite because she's just like rattle with it, you know what I'm saying? Which, I don't know. I just think this heirloom's absolutely awesome. Now, of course, we got ourselves the slam animation or the tech animation she gets with it. She more just kind of clubs people with the end of the blades of it. Nothing too insane, but it's still pretty nice nonetheless. And of course, it's got that red effect with it when it's actually in the dark. So let's go to the dark real quick. So if you were to go into a dark place, you'll actually see the tips of the actual heirloom will actually glow, which is pretty clean. Not many heirlooms actually do this. The only ones that do glow are kind of like Bloodhounds, Gibbies, Revenants, and a few other ones, and Wraiths as well. But this one's very noticeable because how many actual glowing objects are actually on it. And of course, those are all the heirlooms in Apex Legends. Now, there's a new heirloom coming into the game that I'm not going to exactly say what, but if you do want to see what that is when it does come out, then make sure to smash the like button and get subscribed. And my question for you guys real quick before you go is, which is your favorite heirloom? Let me know in the comments down below. Until then, I'll see you guys in a video. GMAN out.